beat of our feet on the streets, and I think it's really set the tone for other workers in America and other unions.
The Writers Guild reaches a tentative deal to end a months-long strike. What's included in that bargain? And while one deal has been reached, thousands of workers across the U.S. are still on the picket line today. What actors and auto workers are striking for.
The auto workers' strike has ripple effects for car buyers. I'm Bradley Blackburn with why dealers say it could make cars more expensive and make replacement parts harder to find.
All right, let's dig into it. The work stoppage may soon be over for Hollywood writers. Their union reached a tentative deal with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. But as Elsie Preston reports, the ink, it's not dry yet.
Hollywood writers walked the picket lines for nearly 5 months before a breakthrough was announced late Sunday. In a joint statement, the WGA and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers said they've reached a tentative agreement for a new 3-year contract. Elaine Lowe has been following the strike for the Ankler.
I went out and covered some of the festivities last night. Writers were celebrating at bars all across LA, on the West Side, up in North Hollywood, and they are both relieved and elated about this.
While details of the potential deal are still under wraps, writers were seeking better pay, increased staffing minimums, and protections against artificial intelligence.
I believe that the deal that we're working on right now is incredibly important for the longevity of not just the Writers Guild, but the entire entertainment industry.
Picketing is now suspended, but the Guild warned its 11,000 striking writers not to return to work until the ink on this deal is dry. Leadership votes are set for Tuesday if the language is settled.
We have worked hard, the beat of our feet on the streets, and I think it's really set the tone for other workers in America and other unions.
That includes 160,000 member sister union SAG-AFTRA. Talks between striking actors and the studios have stalled.
So I actually think these next negotiations could be very complex. They may be burnished and given a boost, though, by having an archetype in the WGA contract that could feasibly speed things up.
Perhaps not fast enough, as economic losses from the twin strikes are estimated around $5 billion.
In the meantime, actors continue their strike, and with their union more than 10 times the size of the Writers Guild, experts say it's facing even bigger hurdles.
The actors are also worried about the encroachment of artificial intelligence and technology, but they're really, really far apart on wage minimums. And that is what is going to cost the studios far in excess of anything else that they're going to have to pony up for, are these basic minimums that the actors are demanding to be paid. Residuals are going to be another big issue for actors because it's sort of harder for some studios to wrap their minds around increasing residual pay for actors who aren't involved in the development and the creation and the writing of new shows. So I actually think these next negotiations could be very complex. They may be burnished and given a boost, though, by having an archetype in the WGA contract that could feasibly speed things up.
There have been no discussions about studios resuming negotiations with the Actors Union at this time. So as we go along, the United Auto Workers Union continues its strike against the big three automakers. With the strike against GM and Stellantis expanded, Bradley Blackburn shares what they're striking for.
What do we want? Contract! From coast to coast, picket lines grew louder Friday.
We are here fighting for what we deserve.
As the United Auto Workers Union turned up the heat on General Motors and Stellantis.
It is time for us to be treated fairly.
More than 5,600 workers joined the UAW strike Friday from 38 parts distribution centers. It means some car repairs could come to a screeching halt.
We supply parts to the dealers, so dealers have a limited amount of supply they're not going to be able to repair cars or do maintenance on vehicles.
They joined more than 13,000 union employees that were already striking at 3 plants in the Midwest. The union is demanding higher wages and better benefits and says car makers have seen record profits.
We got 6% in pay increases. CEOs got 40% pay increases. Meanwhile, the companies have made billions and billions in profit, so the consumers are being price gouged by these companies.
President Biden will travel to Detroit Tuesday to, quote, join the picket line and stand in solidarity with workers. GM and Stellantis claim they're bargaining in good faith, with GM calling the strike expansion unnecessary. Ford was not targeted by the new action because the union says they're making progress in negotiations.
As the auto workers continue their strike, we're going to dig into three things that you should know. First, the union workers are paid while they are on strike. The UAW Strike Assistance Fund provides up to $100 a day, $500 a week to workers on the picket line who generally don't qualify for state unemployment. Second, each of the big three automakers have nearly doubled their profits over the last decade, according to the Nonpartisan Economic Policy Institute. They say in that same time, the CEO pay has increased 40%, while average hourly wages for vehicle manufacturing jobs are down 7%. And third, there are some claims that United workers are paid $75 an hour. That is not true. At the big three, full-time union workers are paid between $17 and $33 an hour.
So for me, I'm at $20 an hour. To a lot of people around town, that sounds good. But when I look at my check stub and I see $50,000, almost $48,000 made, but I've only brought home in my pocket $32,000 because of all these other taxes and deductions. I make almost little to nothing.
I've been tapped out for 2 years at $19.53, and my full-time coworkers, they're at like $31.77. It's actually life-changing money.
The United Auto Workers strike could create a ripple effect that leads to higher car prices and a shortage of supplies. Bradley Blackburn explains how consumers might be affected.
At Central Avenue Jeep in Yonkers, New York, the lot is packed with new cars. But dealer Jonathan Grant says a sustained strike by United Auto Workers could change that.
I'm afraid if the strike lasts very long, it could really impact our availability.
And that would affect your bottom line?
Yes, it would.
The plant that builds the popular Wrangler is currently shut down. Ford and GM dealerships could face the same problem if assembly lines sit idle for a prolonged period.
If it goes beyond 60 or 90 days or grows to other plants, I think the impact could be much more severe.
A lack of supply could lead to higher prices for new cars.
Dealers are concerned about more than just inventory on the lot. The strikes could also impact availability of replacement parts for service.
As a dealer, we get a nightly delivery of parts.
Tom Maioli owns Celebrity Ford in New Jersey and worries those deliveries could end in the coming weeks if the strike continues.
We could have the brakes in stock, but if we don't have a spring that's needed in the brake pads, we can't finish the job and we can't get your car on the road.
Maioli says if he can't fix cars and doesn't have vehicles to sell, he may need to lay off employees. The automakers are also laying off workers, impacting local businesses.
If you have less money to spend, you're going to really hold on to what you have, and that reduction in spending could curb economic growth in those local communities.
Experts say the strike could have an impact on the entire U.S. economy if it continues into next year.
A professor at NC State says a month-long strike could lead to a 10% increase on the cars that are part of the dispute. WFMY News 2 at 6 is next.